So a few years back, God, I cannot believe it's been that long already, I made a video on how Bravely Second's failure harmed the series. It was mostly about what happened with the Japanese release, and was meant to explain to Westerners why the series is in the state it's currently in. Now that video was mostly research-based with some slight speculation. This video is going to be almost entirely speculation with some evidence to back it up. Now, once again, I feel the need to say that this is not meant to be a dunk on Bravely Second. If you like it, that's fine. It's a good game. If I hated it so much, why would roughly half of the videos on my channel for Bravely be about Second? No. Today, we talk about a conspiracy. I've had this thought for a while now, after delving into Bravely lore, and discussed it with my Bravely friend Komatsu again, and we both came to the same conclusion. That something happened in Second's development that vastly changed its course. I think Second wasn't supposed to take place 2 years after Default. It was supposed to take place 200 years later. As anyone who has played Second would know, the game takes place about 2.5 years after the events of Bravely Default, which was also how long it took between the release of those two games. In fact, Bravely Default begins on the same day that it was released in Japan, October 11th, as indicated by D's journal. Tiz is found on the 4th, and he only wakes up a week later according to Owen. Combined with the acknowledgement of the player through the guise of the Celestial Realm, this pushes the idea that Luxendark and our world share the same time passing, relatively. This then makes sense for Second to take place 2.5 years later, because the game itself was released that far after the first on April 23rd, 2015. However, despite that being a clear connection in the games that we have been given, I suspect that this was not the original intention. Or at least, not for Second. The two main contributors to this theory are the Bravely Second secret movie and the existence of Praying Braj. Let's start with the second one. If you haven't already seen my Praying Braj video summarizing the plot, I recommend checking it out after this. But as a quick reminder, Praying Braj was a browser game that opened its beta in November of 2012, less than a month after the release of BD1 in Japan. Its plot revolved around Edea Lee, now a Wind Vestal, trying to find a missing Agnes 200 years after the events of BD1. Very odd how quick they were to jump that far in the timeline, only a month after initial release. Seems like they had the future planned out. And mind you, the first true volume of the game didn't have Agnes appear at all. It was just Edea looking for her, with Alternus Not Ring a Bell also showing up towards the end, and Magnolia showed up as a hologram from a box. Everyone else was a new character or a clone, basically. Actually, let's go back to Magnolia now, and her first appearance. The Bravely Second secret movie acted as a promo for the next game, and was viewable once you beat the game, or by inputting the Konami code into the main menu. If you didn't know that, then there you go. You can still try it. Ring a Bell will scream Tiz's name if you do it correctly, even if you already have the movie unlocked. Now, I'm certain that most of you already have seen this video, but I want to go over every moment and line of this movie in detail, because the things that you can see and hear in this movie do not make sense with the Bravely Second we got. We start off inside some fluid-filled tank, likely assumed to be the White Magic Restoration tank in Eternian Central Command. The room outside of the tank looks like it, and of course those of us who have played Second know that this is the case, that we are in Central Command. We aren't told who we are yet, but based on the true ending of BD1, we could be in the perspective of Tiz, who fell into a coma after we, the Celestial Being, left his body upon finishing the game. There are soldiers and scientists milling about, checking on our vitals, before one soldier comes up and says,
"Poor wretch. Asleep ever since. Some end for a hero who helped save the world."
Again, further emphasizing we're Tiz. Then the lights go out, Magnolia appears and starts fighting the soldiers. She uses Lightning Arrow to finish the battle, before being ambushed by a pale Gigaslich. She mutters,
No brave points. Guess there's nothing more. Here goes.
And uses Bravely Second to finish the monstrosity off. She then speaks on the language of flowers for a moment, throws in a quick
So much for going home.
before finally going up, opening the hatch, and we get this dialogue.
You're still alive, right? Right? Bonjour, Tiz. I'm Magnolia. Magnolia Arch. Ballbuster. Relax. No need to be suspicious of me. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I envy you, Tiz. Because you've got the kind of good luck I'll never enjoy. You get to live in the same era as me, you lucky dog, you. Okay, let's get going. To where? To someplace nice.
This does not make any sense, and feels even more out of place when it shows up within Second's story. The first thing you might notice, if you compare the scenes, is the dialogue right after she beats the Gigaslich. It's different.
My boss were here, he'd tell me to watch my bush. My friends, you will be avenged.
So the language of flowers bit has been completely ignored, just accepting that she speaks French. But the bigger part is, why did they change the part about her not going home? From looking at how she reacts when she's forced to use Bravely Second, and then her afterthoughts, what it sounds like is that she needs the SP in the Hourglass to go back home, which is something that wasn't even remotely hinted at in the full game. Next, let's look at the wording she uses when she opens the hatch and addresses Tiz. She introduces herself as a ballbuster, okay, fine, but then this line.
I envy you, Tiz. Because you've got the kind of good luck I'll never enjoy. You get to live in the same era as me, you lucky dog, you.
Era. That is a very odd word to use when talking to someone who's been asleep for 2 years. Now yes, that is still a long time, but I feel like saying era is more encompassing of having slumbered for much longer. Maybe centuries? And then there's the last line.
Okay, let's get going. To where? To someplace nice.
This is so tangential to Magnolia's character that it's off-putting. It's not that Magnolia is being flirty. That's totally fine. I'm not critiquing Magnolia being a flirt. But when this appears in Second, it does not make a lick of sense for Magnolia to tease Tiz in such a way when literally one boss ago she had just met Yu Geniolja and was proposed to, and even though she flirts with him, she only flirts seriously with him from that point on, and gets extremely protective of him whenever anyone else gets near, like Yoko. Like, nearly yandere levels of hands off my man behavior. But also, if this is Eternian Central Command, which it is, then why are there a bunch of unfamiliar soldiers wandering about? And why is there a fucking Gigaslich hiding underneath it all? Why would Brave let such a monstrosity be hiding out underneath a healing chamber? If Bravely Second's plot was already planned out as it appeared in the full game when this movie was made, then why is there a living Gigaslich in Central Command? Why do these soldiers look different from the rest of the duchy? Why does Magnolia care about using SP, and why does it mean she can't go home? Why does she flirt with Tiz when she's incredibly in love with you? And why did she say that Tiz was lucky to exist in the same era as her? Well, there's still one final thing from this movie you can find. Looking up to the top left, there's an extra window you can see out of, showing an airship fighting a shadowy silhouette in the sky. That's Goldie, the ball. Why is there a ball within line of sight on Luxendark? Even having been mostly destroyed, Fort Loon still keeps most of the balls from reaching Luxendark over the game. It's only during the end layer with the moon gone that they finally reach the surface. This is where the 200 years later part comes in. I believe that initially, the plan was to have Bravely Second take place 200 years after Default, and Praying Braj was actually meant to be a prologue to lead into the game. Try to reframe the secret movie like this. Tiz sleeps for 200 years. In that time, Eternia obviously falls, monsters run the world, including the balls, and Tiz is still asleep in that facility. This group of soldiers, who we know as the Glands Empire, might be seeking him out since he was a former Warrior of Light from an ancient era, and Magnolia seeks him out for the same reason. She wouldn't consider that Agnes was his sweetheart, and whoever he is in love with has probably passed away in 200 years, and because it's already in her flirtatious nature, she lures Tiz out by being flirty. Or hell, maybe she wants to get with the Warrior of Light. After all, he was a hero, right? The SP Hourglass means she could have been from another place in time or space, and we already know that Magnolia is aware of the Plains Wardens, so maybe without SP, she can't head home. Now, why is this happening? I think it's still for the same plot premise. Agnes is missing. That's the driving force for Praying Braj. Agnes disappeared, and Edea followed her into the future. And ring a bell? He's part of the Plains Wardens now. He can jump around through space-time at his leisure. So now, we have all the main characters already set in the future somehow. The pieces are in place. Except for Tiz, which works perfectly for him to awaken 200 years later and become the fish-out-of-water protagonist. Then, with Edea being announced as a returning character as well, the plot would continue as being a hunt for Agnes in this new era. There's also the fact that Magnolia was probably meant to be the main character, not you. In fact, I don't think you was meant to exist until mid-development. Shout out to Koma for finding it, but Magnolia was being presented in a Famitsu interview in December 2013, printed in January 2014. This lines up because that's shortly after For the Sequel came out, which is when the secret movie would have been available. And there was no mention of you. There wasn't even a prototype you plushie made. We've seen the Magnolia plush and the Agnes plush, but not a you plush. He didn't get revealed until September of 2014, almost a year after Magnolia. And Bravely Second's April 2015 release was apparently a little later than their initial plans for a winter 2014 release. So something was pushed back. To summarize, I believe that some kind of change occurred during the development of Bravely Second, and instead of having all the characters set up 200 years into the future for a big time skip with Magnolia, Tiz, and Edea searching for a missing Agnes, someone came up with Eugenie Olja, the Three Cavaliers, and the plot that we did get. This is emphasized by what we see in the secret movie for Second, and just the things we've seen from Praying Braj. But this is all just one big theory. And this is the kind of mentally ill conspiracy shit you get when I spent months working on big videos. I figured this would be an interesting topic to yap about while I still work on the 1000 Exorcist review. It's coming along, and I'm really excited about the script, so I hope you'll check it out when it's done. So, what do you think? Does this theory make sense? Would you have preferred to see this time jump in the series? Or am I talking out of my ass? Either way, thanks again to Koma with encouraging me to believe in this conspiracy, and now I go back to making multi-hour review now. Bye-bye till next month.
You've lost your goddamn mind, Charlie!